So Pirke Avoth, 5th Perek, Mishnah Tetvav, number 15, that is. Kol ahava she'hi teluya bedavar. So Mishnah says, any love that is dependent on something else, obviously, batel davar betela ahava. If that, let's say, outside factor is gone, then the love is gone. The like is gone. If the only basis for a marriage is looks, so then a couple of years pass by, looks may change, few years, maybe not a couple of years. So if that was the only binding agent between the two people, then obviously you're in trouble. They see no more connection. They see no more connection. So the truth of the matter is, this Mishnah is saying that love needs to transcend everything else. It has to be to the very essence of the other thing. If I love Torah because it gives me a position, so then when you won't give me a position anymore, I stop loving Torah. Or any other example you may want to give. It's very, very obvious. So that definition is not love. And I understand, by the way, that's where this is the source of what Chazon Ish said. Chazon Ish said what the world calls love, we call them?
Karet.
We call them karet. That's what he said.
We call what?
Karet. That's what he said. Right? The point being, they really are misusing the word. They are misusing, that's not love. That is not love. Love could only be with the most elemental essence of a person. Right? So how could you have love at first glance? How could there be such a thing? You got to know the other person, know them, their reality, know what makes them tick, as they say, before one could truly say love. And, as a matter of fact, I try to use something similar when I learn with Khatanim, sometimes Kalot, if they come talk to me, not that often, about what commitment means. Commitment means you're committed to the very, very bare essence of the other person, regardless of everything else. So look, as long as you're not married, a person maybe suggested to go out on a date with somebody, said, oh, by the way, she has mild blood pressure. Her blood pressure is a little bit high. So you may choose, you know what? Not interested in this headache. What do you mean? It's a tiny, it may never be an issue. He doesn't want him. Okay, so he doesn't want him, fine. Small thing, he may choose that it's not for him. But once they got married, Chas v'shalom, the most severe of issues, that's it, you made a commitment. You made commitment to the essence of the person. That means nothing else matters. Of course, I may have not started with those issues, with this, and now, they found out one person is suffering from this, is suffering from that. A new thing happens. Whatever the case may be. Now you're committed already. So commitment, that's what it means. Are you ready to commit? That means you have seen the other person enough that you're committing to everything that comes with it. Everything. Yeah, because everything else is the packaging. The essence inside is what you're committed to. The sickness is the packaging. That's all part of the wrapping paper. That malbush for sure is malbush. But even one's health is malbush. One's looks is for sure malbush. These are all.
How do you give basis for people to say there was mekach taut?
Mekach taut is something that existed you didn't disclose.
So what? It's still, according to you, it's still labush.
No, it's not, because you didn't tell me. You weren't honest with me. So I could not have seen it right. Before marriage, you have an up. Now, that, by the way, is something that Chazal say, something that comes close to the reality of a person. Right? In my case, probably it would not be mekach ta'ut. One of the parties has mildly elevated blood pressure. That's not mekach ta'ut. That's for sure not mekach ta'ut. Mekach ta'ut is something that really is a real. It's a real issue. It's a real issue. A little bit of a I don't know how blood sugar works. Maybe Dr. Ye could help us. But something mild that is not going to be problematic. They need to monitor, and they need to monitor the diet. But no, it limits his life. Right? Lifestyle. If it limits, yes. If it's something that just a little bit of medication needs to be taken. Again, if one party did not disclose me. Again, I don't know. I shouldn't use examples of sicknesses, but anything that is mild and it doesn't affect life, it may be.
But after the marriage, you say it's really, if it's something mild, you say after the marriage, it's not really the essence of the person. Get to know the essence of the person. Mm-hmm. But if you say that it didn't disclose, why don't you say, okay, fine, it didn't disclose that she is obsessive compulsive, she's manic. Yeah. Right? Well, but that doesn't go to the essence. The essence is the...
I would argue that it doesn't go to the essence. Manic depressive, it does go to the essence. But some of them might think your question may be fair. I don't know. I have to think about your question. Some think she's missing a toe, or he is missing a toe. Right? So that, I would say, doesn't touch the essence of the person, but still, it is mekach ta'ut, and that's where your question lies.
So let's the reverse. Let's say that she is healthy, there was no mekach ta'ut. 2 years into the marriage, she develops this manic depressive. Would you still say you committed, or would you say...
Of course he would say it's committed. He may say, look, I can't.
But that's
so we would have to deal with it. That is true. That is true.
That goes to the
he may say, look, I committed, but I can't. He may say that, and we have to deal with the reality. But I'm saying that when one is making a commitment, he must realize that that's the very description of commitment. Commitment means you're committed no matter what. And we do not, but outside world they say in sickness and in health, in want and in need, whatever they say, it's true. It is true. It is true. That's what commitment is. That's what commitment is. Okay.
Under the chuppah, the commitment does not cover the whole sickness and all the things?
Yeah, I mean, of course it does cover it. It does cover. I'm just saying we do not say it. Of course it covers. No, I'm not. I wasn't saying it's not part of our religion. I was saying we do not yet use those words. That's what I'm saying. All right. Now, so, but if there is love that is clear of any ulterior motives, if you will, then ena betela leolam, that cannot be taken away. What is a love that is dependent on an ulterior factor? Amnon fell in love with Tamar. So there were a couple of factors. It was her looks. Yeah, right. I'm sorry if I misspoke. It was her looks. Perhaps it was a little bit of Ma'im Ginuvim Taku involved there, right? And unfortunately, as soon as that love was dug into, hate came instead. They couldn't stand each other, or at least he couldn't stand her. Right? Couldn't stand her. So, when do you have a love that is not dependent on anything? David be Yonatan, the friendship, the closeness that David and Yonatan experience with each other. Okay, Kol Machloket. Now this, the first part perhaps was the more obvious thing. The second part is really interesting. Kol Machloket she'id l'shem shamayim. If you have an argument, not for the sake of argument, you have an argument for the sake of truth, for the sake of what you care about. Most of us, perhaps all of us, have come come in contact with people who just want to argue. I've had conversations with people that I knew if I take their position and I say A, they say B. I know if I say B, they say no A. You know, they're out there. It's
like me and my brother.
okay. But however, if machloket has, if the disagreement doesn't have to do with the person, right? And believe me, I gave you a very, very obvious example. But there are sometimes that it becomes difficult. It becomes difficult for us to say truly how much of my ego is in this argument and how much is Shem Shemayim. If you were to ask yourself, you're arguing with somebody about something. If this person wasn't who he is, if I was arguing with somebody else, if he was my friend, another friend, if he was my brother, if he was my Rav, how would that argument go then? Would it be the same? Would I truly believe and feel the same? It's very difficult. It's very, very difficult because the dynamics that you have in this relationship goes into your argument. You consider somebody inferior in their IQ. It becomes very, very difficult for us to accept their point of view. And even if I truly, truly say I'm looking for the truth, it becomes very, very difficult to hear truth from him. And I saw, unbelievable. I don't know if I ever said this here, but this is unbelievable. The truth of it, the psychology of it is so deep, but it's true. It's really funny. We'll get to it in a few weeks. Yosef is sold to Mitzrayim. Brothers regret their action. Brothers come to Mitzrayim. Brothers are looking for Yosef. Yeah? Yosef arrests them. What gives him the excuse to arrest them? The fact that they were looking for Yosef. You're not acting like people who came to buy some food and go. First of all, you all separated. You came in each from a different direction. Like that was their plan. Each one of us go, enter Mitzrayim differently. Maybe we'll hear something. Maybe we'll see somebody. Maybe we'll see Yosef. And after you came, you didn't come directly. So you go downtown to buy something. You go to the store. You don't go around talking to people. So what gives him the excuse to arrest them? The fact that they're looking for Yosef. So they come there and they finally tell him, "We're looking for our brother." And Yosef so masterfully spins it. At the end, he can't control himself, but he spins it to his own advantage. But Ribono Shel Olam is standing in front of you. You're looking for him. You don't see him? So Chazal tell us. Why? Because when Yosef left, he didn't have a full set of beard. He didn't have a full face of beard. Now he's standing and they see a man with a beard. And that's not Yosef. At that point, he had a beard. They sold him. He was 17. They went to him. He was 39. Yeah, 39. 21 years later. 21, 22 years later. So okay. So they sold a 17-year-old, not full set of beard. Now they see a 39-year-old with a full set of beard. They don't recognize it. That's a Chazal. That's what Chachamim tell us. The answer satisfies you? Good answer?
No.
And people see me, you won't believe it. People have not seen me or my father for 50 years. They see me, they say, "You're so-and-so's son." Now Yosef, Chazal tell us, Demut Yokno was exactly like Yaakov. They didn't see that. They didn't see that. Rab Chaskan Levenstein, in his Sefer, he says he was a Holocaust survivor. He survived the war. He came to Bnei Brak after. He says he was walking in Bnei Brak once, and somebody was walking behind someone and called him, "Stop, stop!" He says, you freedman from, I don't know, he said a small town in Poland. You freedman from so-and-so place, his son, by any chance? He said, yeah, how do you know me? I've never seen you. There's an old man and stopped the young man. He says, from behind I saw you walk like your father. It happens, you see. But by the way, I've been told that also. I've been told that I walk like my father, my son walks like me. So, what they're staring at Yosef, they're having a whole interaction with him. Couple of days. Nothing. Not one of them. You know why they didn't see Yosef? This is so deep, so true. Now, the beginning of Parasha says, Yosef Hayanar. Yosef acted immature. Yosef acted immature. So when he has a dream that I'm going to be the king over you, it's ridiculous for them. They cannot take it. You? Right? You couldn't manage a canteen. You're a child. You're immature. You're going to be a king. You can't manage a canteen. That's how they felt. That's the Yosef they know. The Yosef they know is immature, and that's what Chazal mean. They left him without a beard. The image they had mentally could not sit well with what they were seeing, so they didn't see it. They're looking for Yosef in Mitzrayim. They're looking in every single hole and any nook and cranny. There's only one place they're not looking for Yosef. You know where?
The White House.
In the palace, the White House. In the palace, it cannot be. He cannot be. They're not even thinking about it. They're not even looking for him. So that's why he could be staring him in the eye for 2 days and they won't even see it. And that's the reality of our psychology. The reality of our psychology is we interact with everybody according to the image usually we have. And it takes really training oneself. And it takes a little bit, one being comfortable with himself enough to come out of himself and look at something differently. It's not an easy job. It is not an easy job. Now when it says machloket l'shem shamayim, that means you take the person out of it. What I don't like and what I do like about him, you take out of it. Right? Now this is not an easy task. So much so, the Chachamim tell us in Sanhedrin, what? In Sanhedrin, they would ask the smallest Talmid Chacham to the biggest. Because you cannot trust, once a bigger Talmid Chacham says something, you cannot trust yourself to say your own opinion. Now, we are talking about Chachamim of Sanhedrin. They didn't lie. Is this what you think? Yes, this is what I think. But subconsciously, it affected you. It affected you. It's unbelievable. It is truly unbelievable to take the ego out of it, to take the thing out of it. Right? It's very, very difficult for us to admit to someone who we think should not know as good as me. Very difficult. It becomes very, very difficult. So that's what it was. They could not see Yosef on the throne. It's such a strong image that they can't see. So that's what Chacham said. With the smallest excuse, it was enough not to see Yosef. What was the excuse? The beard. It could be any excuse. They didn't see him with their maturity, their ability of being a king. Okay.
Their father had a beard, probably.
Yeah, that's exactly what I'm saying. They should have seen it right away. It just was an excuse not to see Yosef. Staring in their eyes and they don't see him.
How were they looking for him?
And they don't see him.
All over the city.
But not in the palace. But not in the palace. All over the city you could find him. In the palace you can't find him. That's right. They could recognize him in the street. They couldn't recognize him in the palace. They were never going to look in the palace. Because they had already decided that that's impossible. What? That decision was made. That was nothing to talk about. Nothing to talk about. You can't. We are limited by our imagination. Something we cannot imagine, we don't notice. You know that, right? That's what Gemara says. The love Ram Yainish love Adate. What is not within our radar, we don't see it, we miss it. It's like you know, it's like a radio. You don't put it on that